Ladies and gentlemen, the Football Scoop Pod is back. I am once again filled with great enthusiasm because it's week 4. Games started last night, Thursday night. Outstanding football. We got games tonight, Saturday. The lineup is outstanding. Scott Roussel, John Brice coming to you from our regular, podcast locations. Those watching or not watching, Zach might have been kidnapped. He's in a dark spot. You okay, buddy?
I'm in a different one of my children's rooms, and this one is apparently a cave. I didn't realize I was in a cave until I walked in here. But yeah, I'm in a cave this morning. Just
glad you're healthy. Whew. Doug Samuels getting the train back on the tracks tonight. He's got a big win coming up, homecoming. Comstock Park going to put it up on the board. Let's talk football. Last night, West Virginia played very, very well. You know who else did? Coastal Carolina. You know who else did? Illinois.
Yeah, because Chattanooga, not a bad team. I think the preseason favorite to win the Southern Conference. So a very solid win for Illinois to just do what it needed to do and move on further into Big Ten play.
You know, I only watched a little bit of that Chattanooga game, and it was closer than the score, and it would have been far closer. Chattanooga had a nice drive going, and they just threw a horrible pick. I mean, quarterback just threw it up to no one. A very easy pick in the end zone and just changed the whole game. So anyway, that happened. Let's move forward because, my goodness, let's talk real quick about tonight. Here's what we got. Virginia at Syracuse. There's some interesting things there because a couple of coaches who are now at Syracuse were at Virginia the past couple of years. Nevada at Air Force. We'll see which teams show up that game. And then Boise State, UTEP. UTEP's been down. UTEP had one good year in the last 40 years. I'm kidding. It was last year. They're not showing it this year. We'll see what happens. Boise's not the Boise that some people grew up with. It'll be interesting to see what happens tonight. Any thoughts on any of those games, gentlemen, before we move on to the big ticket Saturday?
Yes, Syracuse has really surprised me thus far through nearly the first month of the season. I look for them to continue their winning ways tonight. I think that Tony Elliott has a really good staff, and they'll get Virginia back to some of the levels that Bronco Mendenhall had it, but they're not there right now. But I expect Air Force, Syracuse, and Boise to kind of roll this evening.
Yeah, Syracuse has been one of my surprise teams this season. Obviously, they haven't had a good year since 2018, and they're off to their first 3-0 start since 2018. So look to see if they can keep it rolling.
So Air Force has been kind of an interesting team this season. They had huge win, Colorado, and then they just laid an egg against Wyoming. I know there's a bunch of injuries. I don't know the status of any of those injuries, so I don't know what to expect from that team. Nevada's going to come and go to work. I just don't know if they have the horses. We'll see. All right, gentlemen, let's start our engines and talk about Saturday because the lineup is fantastic. Let's start.
Did he hit the escape button on himself? Like what? Let's start it. Disappear. Oh, Houdini Roussel.
Well, it's just the two of us now, and we don't have the ability to bring him back.
Yeah, we're just talking at this point. I imagine we're going to be starting over.
Yeah.
Oh my.
He was here and then he was gone.
Yeah, he's the one in the cave apparently. So,
yeah.
Did you get down to TCU this week?
Yes, I did.
How'd that go?
It went well. I mean, it was just regular availability. I expected there to be a lot more local people there than there were. There was like maybe 10 of us there. Oh, you're back.
Podcast miracle. No idea what happened, but I'm glad to be back. Where were we, gents? Where were we?
Yeah, we thought you were in the cave. So
yeah, you were talking excitedly about something, and then you were just gone.
So, yeah, we figured we would have to just start it over. So
if I ever get kidnapped, y'all got to help me out. Don't just let me die.
Yeah, well, let's keep going. That was great.
Here's where my joy is. My joy is Clemson Wake, and I'm looking for your thoughts, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at it before we started. Like, this is not the focal point of this game, but everybody. I mean, Clemson's offense is very average. I think they're 63rd in yards per play. They got Wake and NC State these next 2 weeks, and then after that, I don't see who's beating them. They get Miami later on. They get Notre Dame later on. They get Florida State later on. They should be able to out-athlete, out-talent every single team. So it's up to Wake and NC State. And this Wake team, I mean, this is going to be the best quarterback they play all season. And that was the case last season. And Clemson put 40 on Wake and won. So I saw, quote this week that, Dave Clawson, the Wake head coach, said you can term it as these are the two winningest programs in the ACC over the last 5 years or whatever it's been, or it's the most talented team in the ACC against the least talented team in the ACC in terms of recruiting rankings. And I mean, both are true. Dave Clawson and his staff have gotten the absolute most out of the talent they have. Do they have enough talent to run, for 60 minutes with the horses that Clemson has? And frankly, I doubt it. Like, if Wake can get to 30, I like their chances to win. But I mean, that Clemson defense is really good. So this is a great opportunity for Sam Hartman to go out and have the game of his life, because I think that's what it's going to take for Wake to hang with Clemson.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. If Wake is going to win this game, then it's going to be all about Sam Hartman. And it might even have to be about Wake's defense and its ability to generate a score in this game. Because as you mentioned, it's hard to think that Wake can generate enough offense to get into any sort of shooting match with Clemson. And then, look, this was a transcendent season for Wake a year ago, and they lost by 3 touchdowns to Clemson, to a Clemson team that had every bit as much, if not more, offensive issue a year ago. I do think that Clemson is a little better offensively through the first month of the season this year, and I think that Clemson will do everything in its power to keep the ball out of Wake's hands. So I expect this, because of that, to be more of a low-scoring affair. If Wake can see its defense hold up some in this game. I think I picked Clemson. I can't remember what everybody else picked, but it's one of those games that Wake could win, but you have to see it happen.
I think Clemson handles this personally. Okay, I'm moving us forward because there's a couple of really good games in this window, and then the 2:30 window is just loaded. So stay in this window, this 11 a.m. window. Baylor, Iowa State, legit football game, I believe. And then I want to go TCU, SMU. I mean, boy, haven't even gotten to Duke, Kansas. We're talking Duke, Kansas, baby. All right, talk to me about TCU, SMU. This is big.
Yeah, so I mean, the dynamic, or the analogy that I use is TCU and SMU are two guys that went to the same high school. TCU got rich off the .com era, moved to Highland Park, bought a McLaren, and then took SMU's girlfriend. Like, these are very much the same schools, but over the last 30 years, SMU has stayed the same. TCU has taken off. They've won the Rose Bowl. They've joined the Big 12. They've expanded their stadium. SMU is stuck in the American. Like, the only 2 of the original 9 Southwest Conference schools, the only 2 starting next year that won't be in Power 5 leagues are SMU and Rice. TCU's in the Big 12. SMU starting next year is going to be in the same conference with UTSA, North Texas, and Rice. Like, that's not where they saw themselves. That's not how they see themselves, but that's where they are. And then Sonny leaves for SMU's biggest rival. He says, the SMU just didn't invest in the football program enough for me to stay there, so I had to go somewhere else. I hit my head on the ceiling. That's as good as SMU could be. It was time to leave. So I think this is going to be the most raucous atmosphere an SMU game can be. Now, it's not going to be Tiger Stadium with Alabama at night, but it's going to be the most raucous atmosphere an SMU game can possibly be. It's about a 50-50 game. Chandler Morris, TCU starting quarterback, is not playing. They're going to play Max Duggan, who started for them the last 3 years. I think is still a really good quarterback, and I think TCU is going to go in there and win the game.
I thought it was rude of you to say a Highland Park thing, but I'm just bringing it up. You said TCU, but I get it. I understand what you're getting at. I think SMU shocks them. I don't know if it's a shocker. I think I'm on an island picking.
No, I think I picked SMU with you.
Did you? Wow. Okay. Let's go. The smart guys. I like
it. Pony up.
Can we talk basketball for a minute? Not really basketball. Can we talk Duke, Kansas?
We can.
Sellout in Lawrence? Come on, man.
Okay, this is nothing to do about the game, but the Mark Stoops' quote about Kentucky not being a basketball school is like one of the best quotes of the season so far. When Duke tweeted out their uniforms, it's like dude in full basketball or full football gear in his icy whites for Duke. It's like dunking a basketball, dribbling a basketball, like, hey guys, we're a basketball school and we're gonna go beat the other biggest basketball school. I'm excited to see how good, like, Kansas looks like a top 25 team so far. Like, they look real good. Jalen Daniels, their quarterback, has been extremely good. I'm mixing his name.
Different names there, yeah.
Yeah. That didn't feel right coming off. But their offense has been really good. Andy Kotelnicki is one of the best, one of the most underrated play callers in college football. We all know Lance Leipold's ability as a program builder. It's going to be sold out. A lot of people are going to be excited to watch a Kansas football game, and I think Kansas wins.
Yeah, I agree. Jalen Daniels has been absolutely electric. Really one of the prime quarterbacks in college football through the first 3 weeks of completed games this season. 7 touchdowns, just 1 pick. I think in a lot of ways these programs are mirror images of one another in terms of how the coaches are approaching things. Obviously, Lance is a little more proven in terms of being a program builder, and it's a first-year go of things for Mike Elko. But when you watch the teams, when you've seen their highlights, or if you're like me and you found some of their replays on late at night, you can't sleep, you still watch college football. They're just both incredibly well coached. They're so fundamentally sound. I think this will be a well-played game, but I think that the atmosphere in Lawrence is going to be really bananas for a Jayhawks game for the first time since like 2008.
I'm not kidding. People say games in Lawrence are like tremendously fun, and they do get a little wild, which I have never been to a football game in Lawrence, Kansas. We might have to rectify that.
Scoop road trip. Let's go
to Lawrence, Kansas, huh? That's a bold call, John.
Giddy up.
Well, we'll have to talk about that one. We might need to get Lance Leipold on the line soon and have a conversation. All right, another game y'all have been excited to talk about, doing a lot of research on, is UMass at Temple.
Yeah. Why is it game day there?
Yeah.
Moving on. Florida in Neyland. Let's go. I grew up with this game. I mean, this was everything. I mean, the great plays, the Peyton Manning, the Joey Kent, the Pierce Brice. Come on, talk to me about this stuff, JB.
Yeah, this used to be the game, especially in the SEC Eastern Division, and at that time, the SEC East was dominating, and the SEC West was not the complete juggernaut that it is right now. The SEC West, I think, could be the best conference in college football right now just by itself. And you got
last decade.
And you got the defending national champion in the SEC East. But right now, it's been since 17 on, it's really been Georgia and nobody else, or some other teams that have had nice seasons, but not any sort of elevated success to speak of. This is huge. Tickets, I've got a bunch of friends who are going. I've got a bunch of friends who have sold 2 season tickets or sold their tickets for this weekend's game and paid their mortgage for the month. I mean, tickets are going for $600 plus a piece. It's a ticket like hasn't been seen in Knoxville in a really long time. Yours truly was actually the sideline reporter the last time Tennessee won in this series in 2016. And it took a miracle comeback of sorts for Tennessee to win that game. They got down like 21-3. It looked bleak because Tennessee had checkered Neyland. They wore the smoky grays. It was Butch Jones's best team by far. And they came back and won that game 38-28. They scored like 28 points unanswered to seize control of the game. Tennessee's the better team this year. Tennessee is a 9.5 to 10.5 point favorite. It's the largest line in the series since maybe 1990, which was Steve Spurrier's first year at Florida. Tennessee has never been favored by more than 5.5 points in the last 30-plus years of the series. So everything is riding on this game for Tennessee. And then you throw in a bunch of subplots that Billy Napier talked about this week, that he's got a lot of family members that are Tennessee fans. I mean, Napier grew up barely 100 miles from Neyland Stadium in Cookeville, Tennessee. He's still got relatives in Crossville, Tennessee, which is even closer to Knoxville, just up the Cumberland Plateau there on 40. So a lot of intrigue around this game. It's an important game. Tennessee is about 99% certain to be without its all-conference wide receiver Cedric Tillman. Just does not appear that he will be able to play. That's a significant blow because he is such a big-framed receiver that he's at times made Hendon Hooker look a little bit better on some throws than what he has been. Tillman really is the reason they were able to win the game at Pitt in a lot of ways, and so that's a big loss for Tennessee. And then what does Anthony Richardson do with the Gators offense? And then Florida has some injuries on its defensive side of the ball, especially surrounding Ventrell Miller. It'll be a long day for the Florida defense if Miller can't play.
I mean, I'm seeing Tennessee blowout. Like, is this setting? This is like Coronation Day for Tennessee, and it's either setting up for a big letdown or a big arrival. But I think Tennessee wins by 20 points. I really do.
Okay, I really like Tennessee. I don't see that happening. If Tennessee had all their offensive weapons, I'd feel a little bit better about what you said. But no, Billy Napier's squad is going to come to play. They're going to bring it. The quarterback play has not been great. They're going to work through that. So, John, in addition to that receiver, they got another receiver who's going to miss a half.
Yeah, exactly. A half for fighting in the Akron game. He's suspended for the first half. And then they're beat up at the running back position as well. And then on top of that, I haven't – as good as Tennessee has looked offensively, the Vols' offensive line has not overly impressed me through the first 3 games of the season, whereas I do think Florida's defensive front can do some things. Now, people have been able to run on Florida quite a bit, but the fact that Tennessee has not had a huge running game is something of interest. I do think that Tennessee has a few gadgets in its arsenal, including maybe bringing a linebacker over for a full house backfield type situation. So if the Vols get in a heavy yardage situation down near the goal line, I'll be curious to see if they maybe throw a linebacker and a tight end in the backfield and try to just shove it at the Gators.
I suspect that Tennessee wins the game. I picked Tennessee to win the game. I think it'll be great theater to have Spurrier on game day. If the Gators are to win the game, Spurrier will just be amazing after the fact. I almost want Florida to win just to hear Spurrier. John,
yeah. Well, right. God smiled on the mighty Gators today.
God bless him. Texas Tech. Zach, give me some thoughts there.
Yeah, it's a really weird situation where the Tech defense is far ahead of the Tech offense. Like, obviously, Tyler Shug, their starting quarterback out of camp is hurt, so they've been juggling between Donovan Smith and Baron Morton. Donovan Smith he just can't hold on to the football. He's thrown a pick 6 in the last 2 games. Tech scored 14 against NC State. They had 3 late in the game against Houston. So on paper, it's a game Texas should win. I looked it up. The team that runs for more yards in the Texas game is 30-2 since 1990. So the interesting battle there is going to be, Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson, the best 1-2 punch of running backs in college football, against a Tech defense that ranks 8th in the country in yards per carry allowed. The typical Tech defense ranks 8th from the bottom in yards per carry allowed. They're 8th from the top. So if Texas can run the ball, they're going to win the game. If they can't run the ball, then it's going to come down to Hudson Card, most likely. Can he hit some deep shots? That hasn't been there. He's good in the intermediate game, but can he hit some deep shots? If he does that, I think Texas is going to win. Texas is going to have to, I think, force multiple turnovers to win. But if they do that, it's the first sellout. It's going to be the largest crowd ever in the history of Jones AT&T Stadium. It's probably the last time Texas will ever play in Lubbock, at least for the foreseeable future. So it's going to be a jihad game for the Red Raiders. So I think it's really up to the Texas offensive line. If they do their job, UT is going to win. If not, then Katie barred the door. Anything could happen.
I love that you use the term jihad game, and you've busted it out on
a couple of times. Yes,
it pleases me. So I don't have anything to add because your insight into Texas football in all areas is superior. But I just wanted to compliment your terminology there.
preseason, you would have thought Notre Dame at North Carolina could be a very exciting game, could be, top 20 programs, and here we are. And
yeah, I mean, look, I think if North Carolina wins, North Carolina probably is a top 25 program for sure. And then I think that the Tar Heels have some runway to do some damage on their schedule, especially the way their offense is performing. Of course, the May kid is the brother of the former basketball standout for the Tar Heels, Luke May. So it's a huge game, not because of rankings or anything like that, just because of what's on the line for both programs. And Notre Dame has an open date next weekend and then plays BYU in Vegas the week after that. Notre Dame desperately needs some momentum going into its open date. Did Notre Dame truly find something on offense in the second half last week of that game against Cal? Can they continue to move Drew Pine around to give him the throwing windows that he needs? Notre Dame's defense will give Notre Dame a chance to win in virtually all the contests remaining on its schedule. But the defense will have to play well this week.
North Carolina is 1-20 all time against Notre Dame, so a win will still be a monumental program, or a monumental win for that program, no matter what.
Oof! Wish I'd known that before my picks. Thanks, JB. I'm on Carolina. I'm riding with the quarterback. All right, this one has huge potential. The Fighting PJ Flex take on Sparty.
I mean, Minnesota's been one of those teams that's way better than people thought they were going to be. They're not ranked there, but they've played like a top 25 team. I think they're top 5 in scoring offense and scoring defense. Obviously, it's been a light schedule, but here's their opportunity to go out and prove it against a Michigan State team that are they wounded? Are they going to come out and play a lot better than they did against Washington? Was that their wake-up call? Mel Tucker called out his own coaching this week. Is this going to be a rally point for them, or is Michigan State just not that good? And is Minnesota going to go in there and handle business and announce themselves as the top team in the Big Ten West? Like, I could see either one of these. I picked Minnesota, but this was probably the toughest game of the weekend to pick, just because I don't know what we're going to get out of Michigan State.
Yeah, I made my pick based on the home team, which is why I took Sparty. And I think we're seeing right now Michigan State, especially offensively, still trying to find its footing without Kenneth Walker. I think that's a huge element. But if Mel Tucker is going to call out his own coaching the way he did publicly this week, and I give him a lot of credit for doing that, he is physically challenging his guys this week. And I think that they will physically come to lay the wood on Minnesota, a team that somebody on this podcast has thought about in showers. So it's a Minnesota team that really has a lot of potential. So I think it could be PJ Fleck's best chance to play in the Big Ten championship game. To get there, they would have to win this game. I just like the home team.
Indiana-Cincinnati has some intrigue. I don't know what this game produces, but I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, this is a game last year that I thought was going to be a big one because Indiana's coming off that big season, and it was just kind of Cincinnati's. Both those teams went in totally opposite directions. So, how far has Indiana come in a year? That's what I'm going to be looking for.
Yeah, and how much is Cincinnati back from what it lost? We saw Cincinnati on the verge of being run out at Arkansas early in the year, down 14 points on a couple of different occasions, but really gamely came back in that contest. This game being in Cincinnati, I think the Bearcats win again. I think that IU is a fairly hollow, undefeated team right now. When you look at the fact that they had to come back from a halftime deficit, I believe, against Idaho. They were very lucky to get last week's game against Western into overtime and then kick a game-winning field goal in overtime. So I think that this is a contest that Cincinnati takes advantage of and gets it done, especially with this one being the return game in Cincinnati.
James Madison is going to see if they can run out App's magic. I'm picking JMU. I think they've looked like a complete football team. App has been truly magical, unbelievable. I just think JMU gets them. This is in Boone. Gives me a little pause, but I like JMU here.
And this used to be a matchup of two FBS Titans, but they're both programs that App State obviously has already made a very successful transition to FBS ball. James Madison is stamping its arrival there this year. Cignetti is doing such a brilliant job at James Madison that you wonder how long they'll be able to hang on to him. But the program's a great program. I talk to people and I talk to coaches, and they think because of the facility, because of the community buy-in, the embrace, the support, that James Madison might be the new East Coast Boise in a lot of ways. There's that much belief in the program.
I mean, I don't doubt it. If this game was not in Boone, I would have taken JMU. I think
Bingo.
JMU's the better team, but I can't go against Boone at this point.
He's drinking that craft beer. I love it. Okay, the 2:30 window is epic. We're all celebrating like, God, I love college football. And wait, there's more. So moving past the 2:30 window, we got Oregon at Washington State. This one gets ugly? What do you think? Ugly in a great way, like an ugly dogfight.
Yeah, it's a sellout in Pullman at Martin Stadium. I think Washington State's been really underrated. Like they went to Camp Randall in a game no one thought they were going to win and won. And we pretty much just decided, well, Wisconsin's not that good. Well, maybe Washington State is pretty good. Obviously, Oregon's been very impressive since that Georgia game. But I think I pick Washington State to win this game. I think it's call it my upset special, whatever. I think Washington State has been a lot better than people give them credit for. Cam Ward, the Incarnate Word transfer, I think outplays Bo Nix and Washington State wins the game.
Dang it. You took my Cam Ward love right away from me at the end. I thought you were going to get off of there and give the mic back to me before you dropped your UIW transfer love there. So he's really dynamic. I have to give a shout out to my buddy Matt Freeman, who covers Notre Dame, who told me going into the season, watch Cam Ward, see his impact at Wazoo. It will be a wild scene on the Palouse, but I just think Oregon is the more talented team. I think Oregon benefits from its physicality in this contest and has a little bit more depth of playmakers and speed on both sides of the ball where it matters.
I'll mention this one briefly. Georgia Tech is playing at Central Florida. Georgia Tech needs to come up.
Georgia Tech did itself no favors with scheduling Ole Miss and Central Florida non-conference when you also have the Georgia game.
Yeah, I was going to say, and others. Yeah, have fun with all that. All right,
yeah.
Gentlemen, I'm moving us along. I'm now in the 6 o'clock window. We got Arkansas at A&M.
Yeah, it's the Jerry World game, right? So it's a neutral site game there at the Metroplex of great stadiums with zero character to them. They're all, and Zach knows it well, but I've been in that area. I've been to AT&T Stadium, and then I got to go to a playoff game there at the Rangers' new park as the pandemic was abating in 2020. Beautiful parks, zero character around it. That doesn't pertain to anything except I'm picking Arkansas from a physicality standpoint. I think they have more offense and enough defense, whereas A&M has not so much offense and nice defense.
Agree. I think it's very similar dynamic to last year. The game Arkansas ended up winning. A&M's favored. I think A&M's favored by like 1.5. I don't see why. Like A&M's gotten so much juice off of a 2022 recruiting class that they're true freshmen. Like they're not giving them that much right now at this point because they're true freshmen. Most of them, the bulk of the talent's on the defensive line. Like I think they continue to be overrated in the mind of the public, and I think Arkansas is better, at least right now, in every phase of the game.
To that point, Zach, right now I would contend that recruiting class is giving the most into some interesting locker room dynamics.
Yes,
based on everyone I've talked to.
Yes.
And that's a lot of people are marveling at that situation. And frankly, that situation is what guys from Dabo to Nick Saban to you name it, who's who of college coaches have worried about with the NIL era. And it's my understanding that A&M even has somebody who's designated as basically the locker room coach to try and help keep harmony and kumbaya flowing in the locker room. It's not there right now.
Not great, Bob. Okay. Iowa and Rutgers are going to play football.
The over-under, I think, is, what is it, like 33, 30 and a half, something like that. I mean, I'm not I'm not the nugget god when it comes to gambling factoids, but you'd have to go a long, long time, I think, to find a lower over-under than this one. Like, we're thinking like 14-13 final, something like that. It's not going to be, on any of my screens, but it's going to be one in my radar to keep an eye on and just see if we can hit that under.
I would have thought the over-under would have been like 6.5. So you would have gotten me on that one. You could have told me anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally anything. And I would have been like, yeah, that sounds right. So I don't know how you set the over-under over a touchdown for Iowa at this point in time. But maybe the cameo awakening is occurring with the Hawkeyes offense.
That was fun, y'all. That was fun. Marshall's at Troy. Two teams that are going to fight. They're going to they're going to give it what they got. I think that's going to be a really good football game. Good talk.
I think the Sun Belt, might be – I think the Sun Belt and the Big 12 are going to be the most fun conferences to follow week to week because they're the most wide open. Quality football up and down the roster. And I think those two are going to give us the most entertaining games because they've got the most parity within them.
Louisiana Tech and South Alabama, same thing. Points on points.
Louisiana Tech's Conference USA, so not quite the Sun Belt dynamic.
Points, baby. Just talking about points.
Yeah, I think South. That's not one of the games we picked, but I think South Alabama wins. Like Louisiana Tech. Traditionally a tough out, but give me South Alabama at home.
Well, and I think this is the time, and it's not sucking up here, but we got to give a little credit to Scott. He forecast last week that USA could absolutely go into UCLA and win that game. I did, in some friendly competition, take USA with the points last week, so I felt good about that. But Scott was on record on the pod a week ago saying USA could go in there and win. It was very nearly an arrival moment for Kane Womack and company. I do think that they get it done this weekend.
Yeah, South wins the game. I think it should be a fun football game. Wisconsin's at Ohio State. Does Wisconsin show up?
They could show up and still lose by 20 points. Like, I mean, the Ohio State offense is just they're running the Kentucky Derby with the Maserati at this point. I think that's my second Maserati reference on this podcast. But they just have so much firepower. Wisconsin can't keep up with it. They just can't.
Well, and I think that you have to look at also where is Wisconsin? When you go back to almost a year ago this same weekend to the Shamrock Series game at Soldier Field in Chicago, when Wisconsin had a second half lead, either late third quarter, early fourth quarter, and completely disintegrated. Look at where Wisconsin is from that game to this game. It's about a 12-game run, and the Badgers might be the most disappointing team in the Big Ten and in the Power Five in that frame. And it's because it's not as magnified as Iowa, and frankly, it's because Iowa still found a way to win more games, so they get more attention for fair or unfair reasons. But Wisconsin's offensive issues are completely real, and we've seen that. And couldn't handle Washington State with a brand new transfer quarterback. You're not going to go into the shoe and take care of business against Ohio State. I think Ohio State wins that 3 to 4 touchdowns. And we also haven't seen Ohio State remotely play its best game yet.
So in real life, it's been a long Saturday. Your wife's probably been mentioning a couple of things maybe you could do rather than just sit there and watch college football all day long. Maybe you got to go buy some tacos. Maybe you got to grill some burgers, whatever you got to do. This is the time to do it, because then I'm going to ask you to come get locked back in, because we got some football tonight, boys. Saturday night, we got USC at Oregon State. It's an 8:30 Central Time kick. That's going to be a football game. That's going to be a real football game.
It is. It's going to be a real football game that we're all following on our various apps because it's on Pac-12 Network.
Yep.
I don't get it. Do either you guys get it? No?
How would you even know if you get it? No one's ever watched it.
If it's on, I can't remember if it's a YouTube TV offering or not.
I mean, I know it's not for me. I can tell you that. There's a million different reasons why we could get into why this game's on Pac-12 Network, but it's the best game of the weekend in that conference, and maybe the best, one of the best in the country, and nobody's going to see it. We wonder why USC is leaving.
There it is. There it is. There it is. Utah, Arizona State, change at Arizona State's not going to change anything. Utah's going to win that game. Stanford, Washington, I think has some appeal. Washington's good. Everybody hopes Stanford gets back. They haven't shown it at all. We'll see. I think all eyes are glued to the extent they can see the television, the game, USC, Oregon State at night. And we close out the night. Stanford, Washington, Western Michigan, San Jose State. Honestly, it'd be a good football game, but eyes are on USC, Oregon State. Shut it down early on that Saturday night, huh? No late night hijinks from Hawaii or anything like that?
No, I think Hawaii's on the road, aren't they?
They are. They're at Mexico State.
Yeah.
Earlier. Gentlemen, it's going to be a great Saturday. It always is a great Saturday. Any closing thoughts? JB?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, well, first of all, any college football weekend is a great college football weekend. To satisfy my own curiosity, I had to look that up on Wisconsin because it was driving me nuts. It was this very weekend a year ago, September 25th, the Shamrock Series game in Chicago. Pardon me. They had a late lead against Notre Dame, ended up losing that game because they threw 2 pick sixes in the fourth quarter and gave up a special teams touchdown. They lost that game by 28 points. They went on to lose 3 more games last season by double digits, and now they've already suffered a home loss this year to Washington State. So I really think it's fair to examine the state of Wisconsin football and wonder where it is right now. And I especially think that Wisconsin offensive football is stuck in neutral, and that's limiting what the program can do, because I think all of us, I feel comfortable in speaking, even for Doug, we all have tremendous respect for Jim Leonhard and what he is able to do defensively year in and year out with the Badgers. And so I think it's a critical game in a lot of ways for Wisconsin, because it won't be the last game they lose this season.
Zach, we're hoping to get you out of the hostage situation the next couple of days.
Blink rapidly. Blink rapidly if you need food or beer.
The Football Scoop Podcast, friends. Catch us anywhere you enjoy podcasts. Tell your friends. Tell everybody you know. And stay with us. Footballscoop.com. On Twitter, he's at John D. Brice 1 and at Zach _Barnett. I'm Football Scoop. We out.